Hello and welcome to Easy English with Vlad. Today we sail with Vasco da Gama on a daring journey from Portugal to India. We will explore storms, discoveries, new cultures, and bravery. Listen carefully, imagine the adventure, and learn English along the way. If you enjoy this story, like the video, and subscribe to my channel for more simple history stories. In the 15th century, Portugal was a small but ambitious country. Merchants and kings dreamed of exploring unknown seas to find gold, spices, and silk. Vasco da Gama was born near the ocean in 1460. He learned navigation, reading maps, and sailing from a young age. King Manuel I wanted a sea route to India to trade directly. Vasco da Gama was chosen to lead this dangerous mission. He trained his sailors carefully, teaching discipline and teamwork. The men were excited, but they knew the journey could be deadly. In 1497, Vasco da Gama set sail with 4 ships and 170 men. They carried food, fresh water, weapons, and sails for the long journey. Sailors were ready, but the sea was unknown. Vasco da Gama studied maps and the stars to prepare for storms and pirates. The fleet left Lisbon in July. They followed the coast of Africa, stopping at islands and harbors for food and repairs. The sailors faced strong winds, dangerous currents, and seasickness. Despite fear and fatigue, Vasco da Gama encouraged them to continue. The journey along Africa's coast was long and hard. Storms rocked the ships, and men grew weak from hunger. At Cape Verde, they repaired the ships and collected fresh water. Sailors were tired but hopeful. Vasco da Gama guided them carefully around the coast. Every night he studied the stars to navigate the ocean. Some sailors wanted to return home, but he inspired them to continue. Finally, they approached the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape of Good Hope was dangerous and stormy. Waves crashed over the ships and jagged rocks threatened their journey. Vasco da Gama's leadership kept the fleet safe. After weeks of struggle, they successfully rounded the Cape. The Indian Ocean lay ahead, vast and unknown. Sailors celebrated, but they still had thousands of kilometers to India. Vasco da Gama planned the route carefully, using maps and observations. The crew trusted him to bring them safely to Asia. The Indian Ocean was enormous. Vasco da Gama used monsoon winds to speed up the journey. He followed routes shared by Arab sailors. The sailors faced hunger, thirst, and sickness. Storms damaged ships and delayed progress. Vasco da Gama remained calm, guiding the fleet through danger. His courage and knowledge kept the men alive. Before reaching India, the fleet stopped at Africa's east coast. They reached modern Mozambique and Mombasa. Local rulers were cautious but traded food and supplies. Vasco da Gama repaired his ships and learned the route to India. The fleet rested and men regained strength. The explorers studied local cultures and languages. Vasco da Gama prepared carefully for the final leg of the voyage. Soon India was within reach. In May 1498, after 10 long and dangerous months at sea, Vasco da Gama finally reached the port city of Calicut on India's southwestern coast. The sailors were exhausted but amazed by the beauty and wealth of the city. Spices like black pepper, cinnamon, and cardamom filled the air with strong, exotic aromas. Colorful fabrics lined the market stalls, and merchants from Arabia, Africa, and India traded goods from across the world. Vasco da Gama approached the local ruler, known as the Zamarin, with gifts of fine Portuguese cloth, gold coins, and other treasures from Europe. The Zamarin was intrigued but cautious, unsure if these strangers could be trusted. Negotiations took many weeks. Vasco da Gama observed the Indian culture carefully, learning about their trade networks and customs. Meanwhile, his sailors explored the city, documenting the architecture, food, and daily life. They were amazed by the grandeur of temples, the organized marketplaces, and the diversity of people from different nations. Vasco da Gama carefully recorded everything in his logbook, ensuring that future expeditions would have precise knowledge of the Indian coast. Finally, the Portuguese secured permission to trade. This achievement marked the first time Europeans had reached India by sea, creating a direct route for spices and wealth from Asia to Europe. It was a moment of triumph, but Vasco da Gama knew his journey was not yet complete. Returning to Portugal was almost as perilous as the journey out. Vasco da Gama's fleet faced violent storms in the Indian Ocean, strong monsoon winds, and the constant threat of shipwreck along the African coast. Many sailors suffered from scurvy, hunger, and fatigue. Some of the original crew did not survive the return journey. To navigate safely, Vasco da Gama used careful observation of the stars, ocean currents, and knowledge gained from local sailors along the east coast of Africa. Stops at friendly ports allowed the fleet to repair damaged ships and resupply food and water. At each port, Vasco da Gama continued to document local cultures, trade practices, and navigation techniques, ensuring future expeditions would be better prepared. When they finally reached Lisbon in September 1499, the Portuguese people celebrated. King Manuel I honored Vasco da Gama for achieving a historic milestone, the first successful voyage by sea from Europe to India. The wealth of spices, silk, and knowledge transformed Portuguese trade and strengthened Europe's interest in global exploration. Vasco da Gama's journey was more than a trade expedition. It was a symbol of courage, perseverance, and human curiosity. He had conquered unknown seas and opened a new chapter in world history, forever connecting Europe and Asia by ocean. Vasco da Gama did not stop with his first voyage. He made two more expeditions to India to protect Portuguese trade interests and establish permanent trading posts. On these journeys, he faced pirates, rival European traders, and local conflicts. He helped build fortified trading settlements along the Indian coast, ensuring Portugal could maintain control of key ports. Vasco da Gama's leadership was strict but effective. He demanded discipline from sailors and soldiers to keep operations smooth. His detailed maps, notes, and knowledge of the seas became vital references for other explorers. Despite the dangers and challenges, he earned respect and fame throughout Portugal and Europe. People admired his courage, intelligence, and dedication. He was given high honors, including the title of Admiral of the Indian Seas. In 1524, Vasco da Gama died in Cochin, India, while serving his country. His legacy was not just the sea route he discovered, but the inspiration he provided to countless sailors, merchants, and explorers who followed in his wake. His voyages connected continents, trade, and cultures, reshaping the history of the world. Vasco da Gama's journey teaches timeless lessons about courage, knowledge, and leadership. Preparation and careful planning were essential to his success. By studying maps, observing the stars, and learning from local sailors, he navigated unknown oceans. Leadership played a key role. Vasco da Gama inspired loyalty among his crew, guided them through storms and sickness, and made critical decisions under pressure. Without strong leadership, the fleet might have been lost at sea. His voyages also highlight the importance of cultural understanding and diplomacy. Meeting the Zamorin and other local rulers required patience, respect, and negotiation skills. Vasco da Gama learned that exploration was not only about sailing, but about forming relationships and understanding new worlds. Finally, his story reminds us that curiosity and determination can change history. His journey opened trade routes, connected continents, and inspired generations of explorers. Today, we can look at his voyage and see how human courage and knowledge overcome challenges, even in the most dangerous situations. Vasco da Gama's legacy lives on, teaching us to explore, learn, and dream beyond our borders. Thank you for listening to this story of Vasco da Gama. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe to Easy English with Vlad. See you next time for another simple and fun history story.